Welcome back to r/LegalAdvice, where people ask questions, get advice, and we get satisfaction. If you are new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe to join our amazing community, and without any further ado, let's dive right into the stories. And the first one is titled, Can a Homeowners Association enforce its covenants on adjacent properties that have no deed restrictions or covenants in Pennsylvania? I will try to be as short as possible. I own 2 Dobermans and a German Shepherd. I live on a property with no deed restriction. In 2011, the woods behind my house were cleared, subdivided and made into a development in which all the properties have deed restrictions/covenants that run with the lands, including a homeowners association. I have included a picture of before 2011 and after today 2015 because in 2012 I had my old house, 75 years old, torn down and built a new one. Because the area behind my old house would now include a road, I elected to move my new house from the old location, blue box 10 circle, to the new location, blue box red circle. The white boxes are properties that have no deed restrictions and the grey boxes are properties in the HOA. And here you can see the glorious way OP visualized this explanation. So I hope that will make it a little bit easier to understand what this story is actually about. This moving the new house location required negotiation with the township, which granted me the move with the following conditions that were not deed restrictions, just agreements to be able to obtain the final occupancy permit. I installed 2 8x8x8 foot buried stone drainage pits front and back of the home where the gutters, runoff and sump pit would drain into. I paid for the install of 2 of the same type of drainage pits on my next door neighbor's house, property north of me. No swimming pool could be put in for 5 years. However, last year the HOA enacted rules that aggressive breeds were prohibited by homeowners. I received a notice from the HOA that because my property was adjacent to and in the immediate vicinity of HOA properties that I was in violation, and this assertion was supported by numerous cases and well-established case law. I have been fined $100 per week for the last 3 months and I just ignored it. Now, the HOA has threatened to place a lien on my house as well as threatened to sue the recorder of deeds because when I moved my house to the new location, covenants should have been added to my property to conform with surrounding properties. Am I really going to have to go to court and possibly have a lien on my house? Edit, the letters have come from a known law firm and specifically an attorney who, after an internet search I discovered, deals almost exclusively with cases involving quirky Pennsylvania laws allowing forced sales and or lien/deed/covenant modifications of condo/apartment associations that 100% of the time benefit builders who have exceeded their liquid assets and need to force sales of all properties to other developers who kick out owners and make 150 to 300% profits on repossession and resales. Edit number 2, a billion thanks for the PMs, and given that any lien can be sold to a nefarious debt collection agency who can hire an unscrupulous repossession firm, I have help from family and friends who house sit for me while I am at work in order to avoid my house being unoccupied for them to break in and change the locks. In addition, my brother and cousin have concealed carry permits in Pennsylvania and have their 9mm sidearms loaded with their safety trigger guards off while watching my home. Edit number 3, I have found raw, uncooked steaks thrown in my yard, likely as a message that the next ones may be poisoned. I'm not taking anything for granted, including forced entry and repossession. My brother and cousin have kids and hence keyed trigger guard on their weapons, but while watching my home removed them. This is not a joke and I have received real threats. And a user in the comments said, have these letters come from the HOA's attorney or just an elected moron on the board? If they are from an attorney, I would file a bar complaint because lawyers are not allowed to knowingly threaten to take baseless actions. And guys, could this be one of the craziest HOAs we have ever heard of? At least it could be in the top 5 if you ask me. Now let's see what the update brings us. Update to the insane HOA story. Thank you for all of your comments and advice. I did in fact speak with 2 attorneys from the same firm just now this morning, one experienced in property/real estate law and the other in debt collection, liens and forfeiture. They knew the statutes pretty well and were most informative. The HOA attorneys' tactics are unfortunately not unfamiliar in Pennsylvania. In essence, their opinions of the 3 issues at hand were: my property is adjacent to HOA properties, which means institute, defend or intervene in litigation or administrative proceedings or engage in arbitrations or mediations in its own name on behalf of itself or 2 or more unit owners on matters affecting the planned community. Emphasis on the legislature using the broadening term affecting, which may or may not include adjacent properties that would be for a judge to decide. Also, insurance is implicated because aggressive breeds are within the boundaries of the planned community and thus higher premiums are required, or so they say. They think HOA doesn't have the power to directly fine me, but under a certain paragraph at least win the day by war of attrition through litigation, attempted liens and making my life hell. The recorder of deeds erred, not my fight now, but would likely become my fight if the deed is retroactively modified. In that case, it would cost a substantial amount of money to appeal the Court of Common Plea order if a judge were to be convinced that my deed should be modified. Highly unlikely, but the HOA does have the right to try and petition. I cannot do anything until the injury is real or imminent. Deeds may be retroactively modified, yes, but only under very, very extenuating and very limited circumstances, which probably doesn't apply here because there was no obvious or flagrant error. Rather than modifying the deed, the HOA could harass the township, code enforcement division, code inspector and recorder of deeds to the point that if I were to apply for any additional building permits, pool, shed, patio, etc., theoretically I could be pressured into accepting easements placed on my property or otherwise have all permits denied. In summary, until matter 1 is resolved, in a few weeks have a title search performed to see if any liens are placed on my property, don't leave my house vacant for more than 24 hours, don't respond to the HOA. Also make sure my county dog licenses, vaccinations and vet records are up to date. Don't apply for any more permits or even have the final inspection done on the basement I just finished. Edit, oops, lastly, they will draft and send a letter filled with nice legal terms to the HOA to go pound sand and leave me alone. Last edit, some have suggested I contact the police about stakes thrown in my yard and veiled threats that I have received. However, it is so circumstantial that it may cause more harm than good. And guys, you wouldn't be on my channel if there wasn't another update, of course. However, I would really appreciate it if you could post some star emojis in the comments and also like the video if you enjoy my daily content. This really helps my channel and I would really appreciate your support. Thank you so much, and now let's continue to the next update. Second update to the insane HOA story. Lawyers received an emailed letter last night, digitally signed from the HOA's legal firm's senior partner. At the local court waiting for a motion to be filed to dismiss the fines and seek punitive damages, I will summarize. Holy crap, our client made a big mistake. Not really their fault though, because it turns out the township, builder and road engineers all filed differing information. Likely, someone made a mistake and tried to cover it up or fix it without anyone knowing. We just advocated for our client with information we had. We would have been right had information we had was correct and we would have won. Our bad though. Road was supposed to be HOA's. Township said, oh yeah, you can have it because the builder built it. County Emergency Management said, oh hell no, and told the builder the road had to be connected to a main road to the north, adding 150 feet of road. The road became township's, no one told HOA, and HOA thought they were getting a freebie with main road access to north and south, made repairs to potholes over 3 years and assumed road and rights were theirs. Access to road owned by HOA and my adjacent property equals playing by their rules. Code enforcement officer negotiated with me about drainage pits in part because the number of properties in the given area without them would have exceeded standards, and builder would have had to add a retention pond for runoff. Too expensive. Code enforcement officer mandated I do the drainage pits on my and my neighbor's property, never officially recorded the written agreement I signed for occupancy permit, builder avoids retention pond building, kickback. Additionally, instead of differentiating all the properties in the filing plan and environmental report, properties with deed restrictions versus non-restrictions, the builder lumped them all together as one single area, including properties he had no control over that did not require a retention pond. HOA then thought covenants had to have been placed on my property, especially with the road access. Deed recorder was therefore the person who erred in not adding them. We are taking action against the builder. Turns out the environmental report was wrong and a retention pond has to be put in anyway. Your client spent thousands on 2 pits that were unnecessary. You are welcome to join us. Edit. I'm surprised at how fast this all moved, but apparently it touched off a crap storm when a paralegal pulled most of the information yesterday from the township. Someone did something very wrong, either by mistake or on purpose. So basically guys, in other words, they admitted they were wrong. We can say one ongoing land dispute resolved. And the next one is titled CA Property Management Company Not Complying with Court-Ordered Security Deposit Return Wrote Me a Bad Check. I lived in an apartment complex with a third-party property management company during 2017. My lease expired on 31st December 2017. The property management company sent me a single sheet of paper with the disposition of my security deposit and no other documentation within 21 days, but no receipts, invoices or documentation of repairs and costs. They claimed the entire deposit and demanded an additional $2,000. After 21 days, I still had not received any further documentation about why they were demanding so much money. I found out later my former apartment had been renovated with new top-of-the-line hardwood floors and raised the rent by $500. I sent a letter demanding my full deposit back, less the $125 statutory cleaning fee. Their response was sending me the same form with a demand of payment for $1,000 and a single invoice with a single item for services rendered. I took them to small claims court and won a judgment of a refund of my entire security deposit plus the filing fees. My argument was that the company did not comply with the requirements of the California Civil Code regarding the timely return and documentation of security deposit disposition. I waited the 30-day stay of judgment and sent a letter demanding payment. After a few more weeks, they sent a check for the full amount. When I went to deposit the check, the bank said there would be a 2-week hold. Since there appeared to be some issue with the account, the check was written from. 2 days later, the check cleared and funds were deposited. Yesterday, I found yet another demand letter from the property management company demanding payment of $400 and included was a copy of the notice of entry of judgment. No other documents were included. This morning, I saw the money was missing from my account. Further investigation led to me finding there was a stop payment issued by the payer and the bank charged me a bad check fee. So my question r/legal advice is, what do I do next? Have I exhausted my remedies with this company? What can I do about them not complying with the judgment? Is there any remedy for the bad check? Thank you very much for your help. And a user in the comments said, interesting situation, the first thing I would do would be to file a police report for the bad check that you were written. Then I would call the clerk of the court where the court order was made and ask them how to motion for contempt of the order to repay your security deposit. Update to the property management company's story. Good news, I have finally received my full judgment amount, interest, court costs and fees from the property management company. I sent them a certified letter demanding payment of the bad check while threatening another lawsuit for damages. They replied saying they had no record of a check ever being sent to me in the first place and they sent a return demand asking for payment of $400, which they claimed was the amount due after they subtracted the judgment amount. That same day I went to the court and filed for an examination hearing. This is a hearing where the defendant is ordered to either pay or appear for the hearing with an explanation of why they haven't paid and a statement of assets for me to levy from. Failing to appear for the hearing results in a warrant for the defendant's arrest. I sent a strongly worded letter informing them they could either pay or not pay, but the judge would probably not appreciate them failing to comply. I also explained the issue at trial was the return of my security deposit, not how much I owed them. Within an hour of the sheriff serving the order, the property manager called me and asked for a breakdown of the costs and the total amount they owed. I added together every bit and they paid me within 24 hours. And the last one is a little extra story from our own subreddit r/ripe stories, and it is not about legal advice, but it is just a little extra. It is titled "Dad thinks his money is his, but mom's money is theirs." This is kind of a mixture of entitled parents and life stories with just a pinch of choosing beggars. To preface this, my father ED is a selfish man, but in the most passive-aggressive way possible. My grandfather, on my mother's side, died when I was 9 and he was the foundation of our entire family. But to ED, apparently, he was the most important person in his life. After my grandfather's death, everything went to crap. ED would make plans with me and then out of nowhere cancel and go hang out with his friends. This would happen with a big show every year. When I was old enough to have a job, he would either only give me 2 days notice about it or tell me about the show 2 weeks prior, cancel the plans with me and then make new plans with his friends. Here is a couple of petty things from recently to start out with. My mom accidentally used ED's card on insert large retailer website here. ED made a comment about it, literally complaining to my mom about how she used his card and not hers. She paid him back for it and asked her why she did, and her response, "Because you mentioned that I used your card, so here's your money." Because of this, I made my own insert large retailer website here account to avoid any issues with ED moving forward. Next, I was going to give ED my old phone. In no way, shape or form was it like my new phone now, but it was 1000% better than the phone he has now, which was a free piece of crap. I told ED that there were payments still owed on the phone, somewhere around like $30 US. He didn't want to make the payments because he wanted to get a new phone that was free, which I don't think you can do anymore. He gave in, but would constantly complain about how he wouldn't have a free phone and how he would actually have to pay money. Mind you, ED is not poor, nor is he struggling for money in the slightest. In order for him to shut up, I gave him $100 towards paying down the phone for his birthday. No thank you, just, "Whoa, OP gave me money, the world is about to end." Last year, my grandmother died. This will be important later. She left a sizable chunk of change for her 3 daughters. My mother was the executrix for the estate, so she held the power of money distribution. My grandma also left all of the people in her direct family some money, my cousins, aunt and myself, excluding ED and uncle, since they were not direct family/bloodline. My mom, of course, was the one to hand out the money to everybody still. ED made a comment about this saying, "Well, why didn't I get a check for it?" My response to him was, "Dad, that is your wife. Why are you making a big stink about it?" No response from him after that. Now for the big fun, ED and MT mother are doing a whole bunch of renovations to their house. They finished their living room and office and redid the whole kitchen with oak wood cabinets and granite countertops. In order to do this, they chose a financing option. ED wanted to use the money that my mother got from my grandma, all of it. Plans were to split the cost 50-50, but now that ED wanted to use all of the inheritance money, this pushed my mom to make some rough decisions to hide the money from my father. Sorry if I didn't make much of this part of the story, but this is ongoing and I don't want to saturate this with unnecessary information. Well, sorry for the ramble. If you have any questions or want to know more stories, I've got plenty. And guys, unfortunately, we have already reached the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed today's stories, and if you haven't already, please also go to patreon.com/ripeyoutube, where I upload exclusive Reddit videos starting at just $3 a month. This is a great way to support me in case you are interested, and the chance for me to become independent from YouTube revenue. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe and like the video, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.